All right, so good morning, everybody. My name is Barb Hemme. A year ago, I would have been sitting on the user side of this conference, and last May, I had retired and from my full-time job, and now I work for Codobears part-time, mostly specializing in the financial pieces of Epicor and doing a lot of training. So this morning, we're going to work on reconciling bank statements. There are two types of ways that we can reconcile our bank. One is we can reconcile it manually, and one we can reconcile using electronic interface. So you notice that there's an Excel spreadsheet on the bottom. That's not what we're talking about reconciling manually. Reconciling manually means that we're not bringing in the transactions from the bank, but rather we're bringing it in from the system, and the system is going to do something for us exactly like this Excel spreadsheet. One of the things that we always have to do when we're working with a module in Epicor is or Kinetic, we have to look at the application setup. Now, there's something unique about banking and system setup in Kinetic, where a lot of things can be done either in accounts payable or accounts receivable. You only need to do it once. Pick a module, it doesn't matter which one, and you can go ahead and fill out the different setup categories. So the first thing that you want to do if you're going to use the electronic interface with the bank is you want to make sure that you pick the appropriate program, and it's listed on your screen there. We want to do the statement import, and your IT group should be able to help you set up the electronic interface maintenance if you're in accounting. And it's rather straightforward. It's a straight program that's already in the system, and you'll have to get the bank parameters if you're on the IT side. Next, we want to set up our bank account maintenance. So the first thing we have to do is set up a bank and then a branch code. It's going to be attached when the bank account is set up. It's rather unique in that the only thing in this category is like the name of the branch, the number of the branch, and that's about it. It's not mandatory, but it is recommended to set it up first because you do pull it in when you set up a bank account. However, it can be added after setting up the bank account. So you don't need it for setting up the bank account, but it's just handy to do it first. Next, we're going to actually set up a bank account. Not every box needs to be filled in setting up your bank account. You will need the routing and bank account number if you are using electronic interface. If you're going to print your checks on a blank sheet with routing and bank account, you will have to include it for that as well. Next, you will have to check the appropriate boxes under check print and input the desired number of invoices on the check stub. This can be changed anytime that's necessary. So if you start out and say, we're only going to print 10 invoices on the check, and later on you find out you're using 2 checks when you make payments, then you might want to change this particular setup. Not necessary for bank reconciliation, however, it is necessary for setting up the actual bank account. So go back and review those fields. The next thing is the bank reconciliation settings. So we're going to go to the bank reconciliation pod, and we're going to select the modules to be included in bank reconciliation. Some accounts are nothing more than for receiving checks or cash payments for your receivables. And so you might only want to attach the accounts receivable to a certain bank. You might want to include accounts payable and accounts receivable. You pick whatever choices you feel are best for your particular company and that particular bank. And then if you are using your electronic interface, select the appropriate automated recognition and reconciliation parameters. So that's the setup. It's pretty clear and concise once you go in there. We can review it later if you want, but today we're going to really focus on just how to manage the bank reconciliation itself. So now that we've set up our system, sit back, enjoy your coffee, and we're going to reconcile a bank statement. So the first thing we're going to do is look at what's happening here. Now, before I said the setup can be done in receivables or in payables, but the bank reconciliation is performed in accounts payable and not in accounts receivable. Once a bank statement is started for a particular bank account, only that user can perform actions in that statement. You can delete the transactions, delete the statement, and start a new statement. You cannot add a new statement till the previous one has been reconciled and posted. So it avoids people getting in and doing things that they may not be authorized to do. It can be a problem if, say, an employee changes positions and or they're no longer with the company. So you might have to have somebody in IT help you unpost that statement, but it can be done. And it's actually very easy to do. So we're going to migrate to accounts payable and general ops. And I'm going to go through this first on the PowerPoint, and then assuming that my system works well today, then we will switch over to Kinetic and I'll show you in real life. So first we're going to add a new statement. You want to select the bank you want to reconcile, and you can see that in that top header line. If you've already started a statement, you can search the statement box to retrieve your statement. If it's a new statement, leave the box at 0 and the system will go ahead and it will put a statement number in there for you. The statement header is going to appear. For a new statement, the box will populate with the number. Description should be added. You're going to populate the opening date and the closing date. The opening date will automatically populate from the previous month reconciled statement. The closing date can be any date you choose, the date through which you are reconciling the items or the end of the month. Verify the apply date and the fiscal year and period. The opening balance will be from the previous statement, but if needed, the opening balance can be modified if needed. The closing balance will be the bank balance from the statement. So let's look at this screen and see what transpired here. You saw the header screen. We added it using the circle with the plus sign, for which we used throughout Kinetic. In new, this told us that we're in the main checking account. Our statement is number 1. It's the first statement that we have for this account. The description in our trial is February of 2022. You can see that I have an opening date of 10/5 of 2021 and a close date of 2022. If you have never reconciled your checks or your receivables in here, you can fix that one of two ways. You can go back to the beginning of time and put in that opening date and then reconcile items on just keep reconciling items until you clear them all, or you can give Epicor a call and they do have a fix for that where they can mark all previous months as cleared, and then you would bring in only the current month information. So either way, you'd be able to do that. The apply date, of course, is going to relate to your fiscal year and your fiscal period. So make sure that should anything post from your bank statement, you would want to make sure it's being applied in the correct date. The next thing you can input, you notice that the opening balance is grayed out. The opening balance is grayed out at the current time because of the fact that there was a previous statement on this account. So it locked that because you wouldn't want to change it on a normal, regular basis. But it did leave the closing balance in there of $10,000. In this case, we just entered that. That would be the closing balance for your bank. And the line total is 0 right now because we have not reconciled any items. And there is a variance here of $765,821.85. That variance must be cleared or this statement will not post. Next, we would move to Statement Workbench. Statement Workbench is one of the fastest ways to enter information into our statement processing. We enter the clear date into a box. This will usually be the day for you are matching the transactions. You're going to add a statement line. In the type box, you can segment your selection by the type of transaction, or you can just leave it undefined. You can also select by partner name with ID. You can adjust the date if necessary. You can then type in the net bank amount or enter debits and credits as desired. The variance will show an amount until transactions are matched. A currency can be selected and a reference typed in. So here we see, excuse me, the statement workbench, and we have our first line. It says that it is not matched, and we have AR receipts is what we've chosen in this particular sample. And we could put AR receipt, AR debit, and I'll show you that in the live presentation in just a few minutes. The date, again, is the date that we're reconciling for. You can do a different line for each date. You can do multiple lines with the same date. This is your tool to manage as much as you want. And in this particular case, we said that there was a $25,000 credit for this AR receipt, and it transferred over to the bank amount, then the credit amount, and then the total amount. It's showing a variance because it is not matched yet. We have to select what we want to match. So now it's time to start matching transactions that have cleared. Choose the Retrieve button and select desired filters. Unmatched transactions will show up in the panel. Highlight the transaction to be cleared and select Match. The transaction will disappear from the list. Notice the statement line values have changed, and the checkbox View Matched is a toggle switch to move back and forth between matched and unmatched transactions. So now we see the same screen that we were looking at before. We see that now we have matched transactions, and so the status has changed. Our bank amount is still $25,000, but now because we've started matching some transactions, we have a variance of $30,100. And in this particular case, we have retrieved all the statement transactions, and these are unmatched transactions. If we wanted to view the matched transactions, we would check this box and we would be able to see what we have actually matched to the statement. So all we have to do is click the box, it'll show it as matched, and then we move on. You want to return to the statement header to ensure there's no variance. If a variance exists, you will not be able to post. Return to the statement lines and determine the error. When the variance is 0, print an edit list for your records. Just a warning, if it's 0 and you accidentally post it, you can go back and you can do it again. The system will allow you to put in multiple statements for the same month. If it's once it's 0, post it. In general, this should be done once per month during the month-end close process. If needed, you can adjust the opening balance. As we said before, you can add another statement if needed using the same month-end date. So here's what our bank account header looks like now. I have adjusted everything and matched so that the closing balance is in agreement with what we've matched, and there is no variance. At this point, I could view the group edit list, double check it one more time, and then post the statement. So I'd like to go over to Epicor at this point. I'm in the Kinetic version, 2023 version, and you can see that I've already done all my setups as we showed in the original screen. I will show you where they are located at. So here's your bank branch code, and you can see in our test database that we have 3 bank accounts bank branch codes, and this is all there is to it, as I said in the PowerPoint. So you have your whatever your code is that you've decided to set up, and it's strictly your choice what the code is, and the name and the bank name. And that's all that we have in this particular area. So let's look at the next one, which is our bank account. And you can see we've set up several trial bank accounts here. We're going to be working today with the main checking account. And this is the way that we set up that main account. We have our account ID. This is strictly up to you how you want to identify it. Your account description should be something that everybody can understand what's in the system. What I've seen is that the original person makes a decision on how they find it intuitive, and that future people who work with the system afterwards may not understand that description. So I would encourage you to think carefully about your descriptions and your account IDs, and think about somebody who may pick it up in the future that has never seen it before. You can put in your bank identifier. If we click on this search box, there's the bank codes that bank branch codes that we looked at just a minute ago. You can put in your IBAN account number, your checking account number. Again, these are not necessary unless your system will require them for electronic funds or to be put on the checks. You can enter a letter of credit limit, routing information, check digits, and I'm going through here rather quickly because it's not about setting up your system as much as it is reconciling your account. You have check print options here. You've got a positive pay situation here that may come in handy. It's not, again, related to bank reconciliation, but it would be related to your bank transactions. If you need to put taxpayer ID and any of these other official registrations, you would add those. Here we have all the different, the GL control code is set up for your bank account for 100. You would want to make sure that all your payment methods are in here. If you're going to microprint, put that information in. And these are just intuitive kind of things. But this one is bank reconciliation. So in here, we may want to decide that we want to have modules set up. We don't in this particular one. It will work without these being checked, but you may want to, if you're using the particular modules for reconciliation, you may want to check those boxes. This is for automated recognition AR. This refers to if you're using the electronic interface. Same thing with AP, and same thing with this whole section here, because this is related to your electronic interface. This will allow you, this whole section here is all from the electronic interfaces that you may bring in. If there's anything to do with payroll for your bank, you could put your payroll information down here for your payroll checks. So let's go back from our bank account. You can add bank fees. Your bank statement parsing parameters would have to do with your electronic interface again. We don't need to go into that at the current time. Again, if you're going to go electronic interface, it's a whole nother setup. The final transactions will work just fine. Doing it manually, and I encourage you to practice it first manually if you can, and then move to the electronic interface. This is your bank statement transaction codes, and you can see I've got that template ID for MT940. So that's our setup. Now we want to actually go in and we want to go to general operations, and we want to go to bank statement processing. I will tell you that once you do bank statement processing, you should never do an entry just in your general ledger. If you're going to do bank statement processing, I encourage you to use the bank adjustment entry and the bank funds transfer screen. I will pop those up for just a minute, and we can add a group so that you can see what we want to add a group. And we're just going to call it our test group, and we can put it for today. We want to pick the bank that we're working with. So we're going to pick the main checking account.
But could, question from Kay, do you suggest using the electronic interface?
If you have a large number of checks and receivables, yes. If you have just a normal, maybe you do, 500 checks a month or less, it's probably just as easy to do manual. You'll be able to see that as when we get to the bank statement processing, it doesn't take very long. And it depends also on how many items you have when you reconcile on a daily basis. I suggest reconciling on a daily basis, and there's multiple reasons for that. One, in today's day and age, there are a lot of hackers and a lot of fraud. And if you reconcile your bank on a daily basis, you aren't going to have as many transactions to reconcile. And you'll also catch it if something comes in from your bank. It'll make it very obvious because you won't have that item to reconcile. So it gives you a quick double check for you to pay attention to what's going on in your bank. The electronic interface is handy as well. It depends on if you have somebody to help you maintain the interfaces, and if your bank allows you to do that. Some banks are not allowing the electronic interfaces. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. So my recommendation would be to evaluate what your system is, how many transactions you're doing, if it's worth the headache of setting up the electronic interfaces. It's not hard, but it has its own challenges. The recommendation is whatever is best for your particular company. And I'm sorry I can't be more specific, but it depends on your staff and the number of transactions that I would make one recommendation over the other. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I hope.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, so we're in this adjustment. We're in bank adjustment entry. You can always see where you're at up here. And we have added a group, and we're going to save that group, and we're going to now add a bank adjustment line. So in this particular case, let's say that we have a bank fee that came in. So we're going to put a description, a bank fee. It'll be available for us in our general ledger, and we're just going to put $100 bank fee. Again, you can put whatever description that you would like into the system. If you set up bank fees, I don't think we have in this particular thing. You don't have to populate it, but you can preset your bank fees and say, monthly service charge, for example, or whatever fees that come through on your bank statement, like maybe a wire transfer fee, although wire transfers have gotten a little out of vogue right now. We're going to put where this is going to go. The system is not going to know at this point where we want this to post. So we have to put in some kind of general ledger code, and this is the where you actually want to book it. So let's find some kind of expense account. I don't think there's many accounts in here, but I could be wrong. Oh, look at there, popped up my bank fees. So there was a default behind there. And you can also do the get default, and it'll populate it if you have a default for the system. So if we go back now to the header, you can see now we have $1,000. That's not going to be right, because if we print, I'm going to try to print an edit list. It has not been working well for me, but I will try to see if we can get it up. And I don't see it coming up. So that's okay. What this is telling me is that actually I just put a deposit in for $100, because it's going to relate this amount will be what's going to happen to the bank, not what's going to happen to your general ledger account code. So in this case, I would want to change this to a minus 100 and save it. And this is how you would put in an adjustment. You would not put this into your general ledger with a journal entry. Okay, once that's done, I can go ahead and I can post it. I can delete this group if I don't like what I did. I can go ahead and delete it, no harm, no foul. I'm going to go ahead and post it. We should be able to see it in our bank reconciliation. Oh, look it, the edit list showed up. Sorry, guys. Epicor or Kinetic doesn't always work well for me. So you can see the edit list, and that was the first edit list before I fixed it, and you can see it wound up as a debit to the checking account and a credit to bank fees. Because of the way that it works and it's not necessarily intuitive, I always encourage you, if you're doing a bank adjustment, do the edit list, because if you haven't posted it, then you have an ability to change it before you post. And then we use the little gears to process this bank adjustment, and we are empty and ready to go for the next transactions. The other thing that we can do in our system is bank funds transfer. A bank funds transfer means that, for example, if you have a line of credit and you move funds between your main checking account and your line of credit, for example, you should do the transaction in this particular area. What it'll do is it'll actually do the journal entry for you, and it will also give you an idea on how to keep your banks reconciled. So we're going to say that we're going to transfer from the main checking account. It's going to pick up your current balance. When you first start this, you may have to play between your general ledger and these balances to get them correct. So it'll be make an adjustment here so that your new balance equals what's in your general ledger, and then you're going to transfer it to another bank, and you're going to have to do the same adjustments there. Then you'll make a journal entry to undo what you just did to keep the general ledger in line with where it should be. It sounds confusing. It would be something that we could help you walk through in the future, or Epicor could help you walk through in the future, or you can just play with it yourself in a test environment and see how it works. Generally, once this is in balance, it should always be in balance, and you shouldn't have any variances between your balances in your accounts. So we're going to say that we want to transfer $50,000 from our main checking account, and we're going to send it over to bank account 01. And if you notice, the amount is only put in here, and it automatically will transfer to the transfer to bank account. You can't put one amount in here and change it here. Also, you have the current balance and the new balance, just like we talked about a minute ago. And this is the description that will now print out in your general ledger under your cash accounts. Also, watch your fiscal year. It's going to pick up from your apply date. So make sure if you're back posting, say a transaction from the end of February and you're posting it on March 1st, make sure your apply date is correct. And that's all there is to it. We just transfer it, and it's going to ask you to confirm it, and the process has been submitted. That's all there is to bank funds transfer and bank adjustment. It's actually very handy, very easy to do on a daily basis as your bank statement transactions come in. So let's put in our bank statement processing. So we're going to work on the main checking account, and I have actually put in a statement here that I'm actually going to take this out. I'm going to start from scratch for you. So I want to delete the statement line, and I want to delete the statement. Okay, so let's go back into the main screen, and This is what your screen will look like when you first open it up. On a normal basis, it opened to the other screen because I was working on it yesterday in preparation for today. And you can see it's showing me the previous statements. It's showing me that they're all reconciled for those particular closing dates and that they are posted. So we would not, once a statement is posted, we wouldn't go back and we wouldn't be able to change it. So we're going to add a new one by hitting the plus with the circle. And this is the screen that's going to pop up. And we already said that we are going to be in bank 100, and this is going to be statement number 5. It automatically populates in the header all of these particular items. The bank account came from our bank setup. It automatically added statement 5. This confuses people sometimes because if you religiously do only one per month, it will be statement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it doesn't necessarily relate to the date, or it doesn't have to. So you can get out of sync. In this case, we're just going to say that we're going to reconcile this statement for February of 2024. And so our statement number won't be in sync with a number 2, but that doesn't matter. It gives us when we are actually doing this. So we've got an opening date of 10/5 of 2021, and we're going to put a closing date of 2/28/2024. And the reason why I'm going out so far is because we just posted some of those transactions. We changed this. The system thought we were going to close on the end of October, and all it's telling us to do at this point is that on the next step, if we change the closing date, it will change what we are pulling into the system. So we would have to retrieve the additional transactions. So it's just a reminder to help you know that you need to do that. The closing balance. So we don't know what our closing balance is. We're going to just guess it's going to be 100,000. This is going to come from your bank statement. So we want to save. And so now we are going to add some lines. And the easiest, we can add a line right here if we choose. But if we use Statement Workbench, it all becomes a little bit easier. It shows us what's happening. So the first thing we want to do is add a statement line. When we add a statement line, it shows us, like I showed on the PowerPoint, that this is not matched. It shows that the date is 2/28. And now we can add our bank amount. And I don't know what we're going to reconcile. So for now, I'm just going to put in $50,000, obviously, or 50,000. It automatically will jump to the debit column because it says 50,000. You can put the ending bank account, so add everything up from your statement, all debits and credits, or you can keep this blank. I know, zero amounts are not allowed. And it's going to pick it up from the debit column. So if I change this right here, you notice it now changed that bank amount to 75,000, and it's telling us that we have unallocated. So we have not cleared bank statements items yet. All right, so once we get our line, we've got our unmatched transactions, and we're going to hit this retrieve button. And I'm telling it at this point, retrieve all the statements from the beginning of time to 2/28/24. Because this is a test database, there shouldn't be that many items in there. I can filter it by partner, which means that if I have it coming in electronically, I could just pull in the transactions for that particular partner. I could say pull in every transaction, including those beyond the statement date. So for example, if I did a check run on March 1st and I'm reconciling for February 28th, I could tell the system, bring in the transactions that I just posted from March 1st. You probably wouldn't want to do that, but you have that option. And then you can filter the unmatched transactions by the statement line type. So is it a receivable, a cash receipt? Is it a cash disbursement? Is it an adjustment? We're just going to leave that blank for now because we can also sort by that. So I'm going to pull in all the transactions, and you can see that it pulled in this entire list of everything that has not been cleared from the system. When in the PowerPoint, I talked about the fact that you can, in fact, pull in your transactions from way back when to catch it up to today. If your system is fairly new, it won't take you very long. It could take a couple of days to do this because the system will. You want to do it in small batches so your system isn't tied up too much. And again, you can go to Epicor and get the fix if you would like. So now I can start reconciling some things. So we know that we just booked this bank transfer. You watched me put that in the system. So that's $50,000. And we are, the match box came up now. So we can keep going if we want. And we can say, okay, we know the bank adjustment is in here for the bank fee. Yesterday I put in one for a test bank statement processing fee. I've got a cash receipt and another cash receipt and a bank transfer, and the following two checks were cashed and came through on my statement, and I can say match. Now when I hit the match button, watch that these transactions are going to disappear. And we want to continue because we haven't really done anything. You see they have disappeared. They haven't gone forever. If we click this view matched, you can see all the different things that we selected. You can see that at this point, we still have a variance from what we put in. We said that this was a $75,000 bank amount, and we selected way more than what the bank said. So we are unallocated, and we would not be able to post this batch to the system. So if we go back to the statement header, now we can see some additional information. We have the first line, and it says that it's matched, but it's not balanced. There is a difference. So we have matched transactions to this, but it is not balanced. And it tells us, again, what we put in. We can still change these on the screen up here on our closing balance, and we can change it on our detailed lines. So in order to go back, we just want to see the detail on this particular line in the statement workbench, and we can fix things right here. When this becomes 0, we can then post it. We're going to try an edit list and see if that will come up. So when we're on the bank statement processing, this will decide what's going to show on this report. We're going to show the outstanding items here, and we're going to show the variance. We can show line level general ledger accounts if we want to. We're only going to do this for the main book. We don't want to do it for all the books. That'll save us a little bit on processing time. And our output is PDF, and we're going to hope that the bank statement will pop up and give it a minute. This is great for your auditors and for showing that your bank account is in balance. Perfect. So this comes in several different pages, and the first one is just kind of a summary page of this is what our AR receipt was, this was our line amount, and that we still have a variance. This section is the most handy. It represents that Excel spreadsheet that I showed way back on one of the very first screens. You can see that it's showing you exactly the same thing as a manual bank statement reconciliation is. You can use this. It tells you the net change. Normally, it'll show you when we're doing this in a for real environment, if there's a reconciliation variance, it'll show up down here. It's showing you the general ledger recap. Okay, what's going to happen if you post this? If you post it right now, it's going to post it to this bank reconciliation variance account. So we wouldn't want to post this statement at this time. Down here, it's showing you all of the bank transactions and if it's been reconciled or not reconciled. This is the outstanding items list in this particular case. So this is what we still have left. And it shows you what you did on your bank funds transfer that's still outstanding as well. So it's a very handy report. Run it when you are at zero is the best. Use this for your backup for your monthly banks statements in your accounting packages. Also, I would recommend, there's one little caveat with this. I would recommend that you have an Excel spreadsheet handy where you're putting any adjustments that would be outside of your bank statement processing. For example, if the bank actually cashed a check that was for the wrong amount, it's going to cause you a little bit of grief until it's fixed. So you would have to, at that point, recognize it somewhere so that you know why you're out of balance between what the bank says and what your general ledger says. You can make those adjustments in a couple of different ways. If you're just going to accept the error, say it's 1 cent and it's not even worth going back to the bank for, put in a bank adjustment, and then you would reconcile that particular check plus the bank transaction, and it would equal what the bank said for that particular day. You can go back and forth. You can be in bank statement processing. You can go back to your bank adjustment entry screen with a lot of flexibility and
Barb,
pull everything in. Yes.
question from Kelsey, and I think this is along the lines of what you're doing right now.
So say for like a payroll, there's probably 2 or 3 things that actually hit our bank, but my journal entry that hits Epicor is like 20 lines. So those 20 lines equal the 2 or 3, 5 things that hit the bank.
Yep.
So it's not going to be a 1-for-1. I'm not going to be able to say these 5 equal this 1.
Sure. So you don't have to put them in. You can put them in as separate, and you're going to do that on your bank adjustment entry. Okay. And so we don't have one open right now, I don't believe, except this peso checking.
That is what I do. I put them in as a bank adjustment entry, but it's like a 20 to 25 line entry, but
Okay.
they don't equal in a 1-for-1 fashion the way they hit the bank. So I can't say like these 5 lines from my bank adjustment entry equal this 1 line. It's like all 5 lines that hit the bank equal these 20 lines, but I can't. So I guess I'm asking, can you split them at all? Can I say if I split this bank adjustment, it's kind of weird.
Sure. I mean, you can do whatever you want on bank adjustments. So let's put in test bank, because it doesn't matter for group ID. It's not helpful to duplicate it, but we can duplicate it in our environment. So I'm going to say that this is our payroll checking account, right? And I'm going to save it. And then I'm just going to add lines as necessary. So I put in line 1, and this is for I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like your cash, your payroll taxes, your 401k, all adding up to some kind of an amount, and one is coming from one place, one may be coming from another place.
Exactly, but the journal entry is split out by like salary department.
Okay, you can still do that here. So, okay, so you have 2 choices. The first one would be to split it out here if you want to. So you could, in fact, make this your like your engineering department, right? And then pick the general ledger code and then save that line. And then do another line and put it for your sales department. Okay, so you have that option. The other option that you could do is keep your bank reconciliation separate from your what you're doing on the general ledger side. Okay, so you could set up, for example, like even a payroll suspense account just to wash things out. And so you could, on this bank adjustment, you could put them all in based on the way that it's coming in from your bank and put it into that bank, that payroll suspense account, and then do a journal entry taking it out of that payroll suspense account and doing your different lines.
Oh, I like that. That would work really well. Thank you.
No problem. Don't forget that you can do a recurring entry, journal entry that can be ready for you to pull in that already has all of those different departments in it, and then you can just change the amounts each payroll week. Okay, lots of ways to automate it. Well, that is kind of all I have on this part of the presentation. Does anybody else have any questions?
Hi, I was
Hi.
just clearing my checks and one of my checks just like disappeared. It's not in the workbench and it's not in my matched. And when I did a retrieve, it's not finding that check, like it disappeared.
So one of the things you can do is check the date that you're retrieving the transactions. There's a chance that the check might have been dated the wrong date. And you can also, and it's not showing up under either reconciled or not reconciled.
No, and it was there, and I don't know if I think I clicked match instead of create lines, and it didn't pull over, and now it's in either one. And
Okay.
It's like all the checks around it are just fine.
Sometimes the system does very strange things. I've seen that happen before. There's a couple of things. Sometimes is your database refreshed on a daily basis?
I am not sure. I can check.
Okay, so sometimes the database might have to be refreshed, because something might have happened that locked it into place, and the refresh will sometimes help. Sometimes just to refresh your Epicor instance, meaning that you get out of it, you make sure that you log all the way off, because you don't want to be attached in any way to the server where the data is stored. So it's a good idea to just kind of power down your machine, give it 5 minutes, bring it back in. Sometimes that'll help. Sometimes refreshing the statement will help, and see if it comes back. If it doesn't, then it would require further investigation into the system. And I'm not an expert on doing that particular thing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then from Tara, I enter payment entries through general journal entry. I've never seen the bank adjustment before today. Is it recommended to use bank adjustment versus general ledger or general journal to make bank entries?
Thank you, Fred.
Sorry about that.
You did mute me. If you're going to use bank statement processing, I always recommend that you use the bank statement processing tools. Anytime you use the system is intuitively, it is recording all your transactions in the bank statement processing area. And if you start using general journal for anything, you are breaking the tie between the two. So just in case you are ever going to use it, I always recommend using the bank transfer screen and the bank adjustment screen.
I got Marilyn with me. We got a question to ask.
So when we transfer from one bank to the other, is that can that be applied from a line of credit as well, as long as it's in the bank?
Yes. So you're going to have a line. You can set up your line of credit actually as a bank account if you choose to, and that makes it really easy to even balance the line of credit. Because I know it's a loan. I get that, but it also works kind of like a bank account. So you can do the transfers on the line of credit as well. In my previous lifetime, that's exactly what I did. I transferred back and forth and made it a bank account and did the transfers that way. That way, the bank my main bank was whole, and it made it a lot easier, and I could pay attention to what was going on the line of credit at the same time.
And are we allowed to put in a GL, let's say for interest and principal, or do we have to enter it as one?
If you're doing a bank transfer, all it's going to do is post it as just in that way as a transfer. So it will be one line item. If you want the interest and the principal, use bank adjustment, and then post it from one to the other.
Okay.
And in that case, you wouldn't necessarily have to set it up as a bank, but you'd be able to put the 2 lines in there and put the correct journal entry, general ledger account number in there.
And from Tara, we transfer funds between banks via a check. What's the correct process to do this so that it shows up in bank statement processing for both accounts?
It would show up if you're doing it as a check. So the check will show up as an AP transaction. Then you put in an AR transaction or a bank adjustment. But you should do it as an AR transaction, just like you would any other AR transaction.